Good morning and welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Santa Clarita In-Home Care and Advanced Audiology. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Jean Dorio,
on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And speaking of quality of life, the one and only Dr. Thomas Pilecki.
That's right.
It's good to be back. Thanks.
Good to have you.
And whenever he comes on the show, Barbara, it's controversy.
So,
yeah, it's controversy and we have to mention right now, the opinions expressed today are not those of the radio station. They are just of us. It's a disclaimer, making sure that people understand that, where this is happening. Because we're going to probably hit on a few heavy-duty things, and I think our topic was going to be back pain, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. So does it mean front pain versus back pain, or what kind of pain is that going to be? A controversy in itself.
That's right.
All right.
Do you believe this, Dr. Tom?
The stuff I put up with, I'll tell you. I get no respect. So back pain gets some respect, though.
Oh, does it ever?
Absolutely.
It's going to affect at least 80% of us so badly that we're going to seek some professional help at some point in our lives. And the current estimates are in the billions of what it costs taxpayers, employers. But when you start factoring in the 12-to-1 return on investment that the current Surgeon General has done extensive research about for saving employers money in productivity and creativity and bottom line profits, it could theoretically be a $1 trillion problem in this country, back pain alone.
And that's because the most common problem we see in the United States is the common cold. But after that, it's back pain.
Yeah.
That's number two. Yeah. And that's why, we have a problem that should be addressed. And by addressing the problem, it will make quality of life better, not just for our seniors, but everybody else who is out there. If they're working, trying to go to school, trying to get their life in gear, back pain becomes a problem.
Absolutely. And, this isn't a new concept. It's actually been, just as Dr. Dorio mentioned, one of the top problems for a really long time. And most of it is because we spend the overwhelming majority of our time sitting at a desk in front of a computer now instead of doing some physical work. So over 20 years ago, the governments of the United States, Canada, Sweden, Australia, New Zealand, among others, all commissioned extensive studies on how to get a handle on this. How are we going to start cutting the costs of this? Because it is a serious expense for these countries, for the gross national product of these countries. They wanted to try to get a handle of it. And even though they're remarkably different healthcare systems, most of the other countries were socialized at that time, and we have the open market. The findings were almost identical and unanimous about how to take care of back pain. And unfortunately, most of their findings were never implemented. And we're still dealing with the same problem, the same outdated, proven scientifically invalid way of dealing with back pain. And it's just an unnecessary expense in this country. So when these studies were commissioned and the results came back, it shook things up a little bit. Nobody wanted to hear this stuff, that over-the-counter medication was absolutely useless. No change in the outcome whatsoever in quality of life or productivity. Oral steroids, the med pack that doctors are so happy to give out, the 1 week of oral steroids, absolutely no change whatsoever in quality of life or productivity. Most of the physical therapies that are commonly prescribed, the sheet of exercises that a doctor hands out, or even the modalities, and they list all of them: the muscle stim, the ultrasound, the hot packs, the cold packs. All of them showed absolutely no change, no benefit whatsoever. And these are across the board studies, not just in some weird segment of the population. We're talking extensive studies in 5 different countries. All came up with the same findings. They do not change back pain whatsoever.
But what does change back pain is the controversy of drugs that are heavy duty.
Well,
and even in the United States, even on the front page of the Los Angeles Times today, there's a warning to doctors that they should not provide heavy-duty care, that means hydrocodone, opiates to their patients because of the risk of addiction.
Well, there you go. Again, even if there is some relief with these things, that doesn't address the real cause. And secondly, you deal with serious complications.
That's right.
Anytime
just camouflages the problem.
So what was found 20 years ago that was never implemented? All of these studies came up with the same finding, and that was that chiropractic care is the best modality. Chiropractic delivers better results, more cost effectively, safer, and with better patient satisfaction than any other modality out there. And every modality was tested. Acupuncture was tested, physical therapy was tested, conventional medicine was tested, and a lot of people had very low satisfaction with all of those, even after they've had a couple of back surgeries.
And I know these studies, and that's why a long time ago I moved in my practice toward sending my patients to chiropractors to help them with their back problems especially. Nowadays, think about this. When you go and see your doctor for 10 minutes, how are they going to figure out exactly what's going on with you? And if the doctor is handcuffed by the system, the HMO or Medicare or Medi-Cal system, they might not order a test that could be helpful, let alone an X-ray. So the diagnoses of back pain is going to persist. The problems related to it with pain and the changes in one's quality of life are going to persist. You know, we are in trouble in this nation because I think you are going to see an augmentation of the numbers who are suffering from this malady that nobody is going to take care of. So turning back to what you do, I think it's important that especially the senior population is aware of what they need to do and what you can do for them.
Yeah, well, Barb, you want to chime in on your experience?
Yes, I do. In fact, when I was employed, I was self-employed, and I stayed at home at the typewriter all hours of the day and night, because I would get up at 4 a.m, work until the kids woke up and I had to get them to school. Then I'd come back and sit down and work. And then lunchtime I'd get up and move around. But most of my adult working life was sitting at either a typewriter or a computer. Mm-hmm. That's where my back problems started to come about. Mm-hmm. And since I've been going to you, Dr. Pilecki, they've very, very, very much lessened.
Mm-hmm. And that's even with a couple of falls and other contributing health problems going on.
Yes.
So
it's been. I look forward to coming in every week.
Oh,
because it seems to start back up when you sit for an extended period of time.
So we're not designed to sit all day long. It's a big problem. And the current Surgeon General, the old Surgeon General, C. Everett Koop, the guy responsible for the warning on cigarette packs, he said that a sedentary lifestyle kills more people than cigarettes ever did.
Oh, I believe that.
You know what's interesting? Dr. Popel, my rheumatologist, she's aware that, of course, I have arthritis too, and that affects my life. Mm-hmm. And she's put me on a pedometer. I want you to walk a minimum of 3,500 steps a day, an absolute minimum.
Sure.
So that in itself keeps me moving more.
It's awesome.
I've got to get back up because
Get you a
I have
level
to
to
put
achieve.
I have to put down my daily when I get up, when I go to bed, and the number of steps I've walked. And it's amazing how they vary. I've gotten up almost to 6,000 in some days. Then I've dropped down to 3,000. Depends on what I'm doing. But I try to keep moving.
Great.
So,
But let me give my testimony too.
Oh, okay.
I don't see Dr. Palecki, but there's a reason for that. When I was 15 years old playing baseball, I signed a contract, but my parents signed a contract for me to play baseball. And if you, at that time, trying hard to, achieve something there, my back went out, and it was to a point where I couldn't even walk. The only way I could stand up was to raise myself on furniture and lift myself up. And really, I couldn't do much with that, but I made it through that, but I still had problems. And then when I was in at a UCLA emergency room, not as a patient, but there as a student, I met another doctor like me who had been a chiropractor, and now he was trying to get into a U.S. medical school, but he knew about chiropractic, and then I was just at that time having a little bit of a problem with my back, and he showed me how to self-adjust, and then gave to me all the exercises that I need to do to make myself worthy of moving forward and not in pain. I haven't had back problems since then, knock on wood, but because somebody like that with that knowledge helped me out, it changed my whole life. I do back exercise. I don't have a pedometer. I have a GPS watch that I run with, but I sustain a higher level because of mobility.
Yeah.
And C. Everett Koop is right. You're immobile, you're done. But if you do some of the enhanced things that need to be done in terms of exercise, you can keep away the back problems as well.
Yeah, every quality of life improves with exercise. The problem is, first of all, a lot of people don't really value prevention the way that it really needs to be valued, and we're paying with our lives. It's common for people to just take it easy and, well, I have, and then they give their whole list of their story. I have to pay the bills. I have to take care of the family. I have to do.
I'm too busy.
I'm too busy. And you start hearing these things, or, I often hear from people who are really, really out of shape and not healthy by any definition of the word, come up to me and if they know who I am, they start coming in with, well, my aunt used to smoke a pack a day and drink a bottle of Jack every night, and she lived to be 100. And I know this guy down the street who was getting up every morning and working out, and he was a vegan, and he did that, and he died. He died at 50. So what's the point? And I'm like, you can't argue with a belief system like that. And belief systems are always based, or not always, but belief systems are predominantly based on bad science, or what we call BS. You can't change someone's beliefs with facts. It just doesn't work that way. So the idea is just, if there's any way for someone to be open to the experience, because facts don't change belief systems, but experiences do. For me, I would not be a chiropractor. I was testing for Johns Hopkins when I was 16. I was in the pipeline to be a medical doctor, but an experience changed all of that for me. An experience with a chiropractor literally changed my life, got me off of all my prescription medications that I'd been on for a really long time. There wasn't a time in my life that I wasn't taking some form of medication. And within a very short period of time, all my lifelong health problems were gone seeing a chiropractor. And we had no idea. This was back in the early 80s when there was no internet, there was no Facebook, there was nothing out there that was anything counterculture. You know, your doctor was the ultimate authority on whatever. And if you needed to look something up, you actually had to go to the library to find it. And when I had this experience at the chiropractor, I was like, why did none of my medical doctors ever recommend this? And it's like, yeah, that's a complicated answer. It's highly political. And I was like, you're not running for office. How can this be political? It's not about politics. It's about, this is by far the best health experience that I've ever had in my life. And I've seen the best doctors in the world. What is this about? He said, it's really complicated. And I was like, how can I find out more? Can I go to the library? And what books do I need to read? He was like, you're not going to find any books.
That's right.
You're not going to find any books about this. And it was just so bizarre that I couldn't find any information to substantiate my experience, to actually, because I'm kind of a nuts and bolts. I mean, experience is the big changing thing. But once I have the experience, I don't want to sound stupid about it. I don't want to go up to people and say, oh, you know, you got to go to the chiropractor because it's going to change your life because I had this experience. People will just look at you like you're crazy without saying, look, there's all these studies out there. There are studies from practically every country on the planet with a substantial healthcare system that back pain is a huge, huge problem out there, and that there are some professionals who are better at dealing with it than others, and that pretty much if you have any kind of a back problem, you need to see a chiropractor first of all, and then you need to see for yourself what that does for you. Mm-hmm. I feel comfortable with that. But just telling somebody, oh, you need to go to my chiropractor, he's great, you know, he sees you know, movie stars and athletes and all of that. I'm like, so
what?
Yeah. Well, it does start from the medical professional, whether it be the doctor, the nurse practitioner, the physician's assistant. That's where it starts. But the question has to be, most of the problems are pretty simple. I mean, if you have a metastatic cancer in your low back, you know, that's a different story.
Absolutely.
But for the most part, our lifestyle, how we are, and sometimes our genetic makeup predisposes us to problems related to our back. And the cure for that is going to be something that chiropractors deal with way more often than the regular medical doctor. So today in my practice, I get a good history and figure out what's going on. But if I can also know that I'm not dealing with something really bad that needs chemotherapy or radiation or is going to cause instant paralysis, I'm turning to chiropractic care for them to remedy the problems for my patients. And it becomes one of these things, Thomas, that, ignoring that in this day and age is ignoring a piece of life that is preventative, that will help those in the future carry on with a better life, like it did for me.
I love that. Yeah, that's why I'm on this show. I mean, you are one of the most open medical doctors that, first of all, I know, and I grew up in a medical family, especially when it comes to this. And I know that you really have your patient's best interest at heart. It's not a number crunching game for you at all.
No, not at all. And there is politics in all of this. Unfortunately, I think, for a long time in at least the medical care that is out there, the organizations have shunned chiropractic care.
Yeah, up until the 70s, it was you could lose your medical license for referring to a chiropractor.
And
Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Really?
And plus the drugs that are out there, because they're heavy duty also, and we alluded to that earlier, some of the problems related to the medications that people are taking these for. The side effects are huge.
Sure.
And so here we are dealing in only one aspect, and we're actually treating low back pain as if it's a metastatic disease, and it isn't.
Right.
And so we have to keep that in mind when we're looking at this problem, that now changing your lifestyle, doing the things you need to do will clearly, in the long run, make you feel better, be able to live life, and improve your quality of life.
That's very true, and we need to take a break, don't we? I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.